Right, I'd like to welcome you to the first workshop of, I think, many. In South Africa I did quite a few workshops all over the country, and at the university I ran courses at the university on paintmaking. And essentially I'm going to use this book as my basis, which is obviously what I've written, the Found Art of Paintmaking, which took me about 15 years to write. Lots of experimentation, reading a lot of books, because most books on art materials are elusive. In fact, you have a look at the sponsorships, will be like Winsor Newton or Rowney, and they actually tell the people to drum it down, and not to encourage people to make their own paint, which is kind of not very good. But they've got away with it, and good luck to them. Any case, but what I'm going to try and do in this particular workshop is so that you can, as an artist, develop and realize the absolute enjoyment of the alchemy of making your own paints, and suddenly realizing that you don't have to buy something from the shop ready-made, like tin food. Tin food sometimes can be nice and sort of convenient, but as regards quality, you wouldn't go into a fancy restaurant and if they tell you this is out of a tin, you'll be quite disappointed. So essentially, you're going to make it's like a cook program, where you're learning how to cook, and a lot of the ingredients, in fact, that we use is used in food as well. And the thing is, it's the understanding of knowing how your materials are going to behave and to predict what it's going to do. Sometimes you do it and think, okay. And I mean, a good thing about being an artist is that you improvise. Everything is about improvisation. In fact, artists that are good are generally quite smart, because every time you dig yourself into a hole and find your way out again. And every single thing that you do, and you make a mark, and you think, that's not exactly the mark I wanted to make, but I'll use it. And how you improve and how you utilize that, and you remember that, and you use that as you're going along. So essentially what I'm going to give you is the tools to be able to not be at the mercy of art shops, of just a lack of knowledge. And it's like buying a machine, a sewing machine or some kind of thing, and you don't read the instructions. And you really get into a snarl, and then you realize, okay, I need to read the instructions. But unfortunately for artists, either you have to buy a real thick book that is just everything technical, or you have something so simple it doesn't really tell you anything. So hopefully what my book does is it makes it plain and simple, gives you the background, and it will essentially enable you to as an artist develop and to be unique. Because the problem with most artists, they buy cheaper materials. You buy what they call student's grade, or like you'll get a Rowney Georgian, and then you get I can't remember all the different names, but and if you look on the tubes, they actually say cobalt blue hue, HUE, and that actually means it's not cobalt. It actually looks like cobalt. It's just the color of cobalt, but in fact it is an inferior pigment, and it's something that's probably going to fade in a few years. But proper pigments, as you see here, have a 200-year life. Even exposed in sun will last, is guaranteed to last for 200 years. Not that we got anyone that's going to be around. It would be nice to be around in 200 years' time. But it's the idea that you can do something quite cheaply and quality. I mean, that's the whole thing that sold it to me. The idea was I can save money. It was out of desperation really that I came up with this, save money, and then, okay, I'm going to go and explain to you about, first of all, pigments. The thing is, paint is not just color. People think, well, they just make a color, where do they get the color from? And essentially, a pigment is usually minerals, inorganic minerals, such as iron oxides. Is a lot of the colors. Iron oxide, you get black iron oxides, you get red iron oxide, you get yellow iron oxides like yellow ochre, Mars red, and Mars black. So essentially with those pigments are mineral based, such as cobalt, is a metal. You have titanium, which is a metal. You have zinc. You have lead. You have all of these. You have some inorganic, but are synthetic pigments, which are some that originally were kind of discovered accidentally. Something like, take for example, a phthalocyanine. I just want to find one. This colour here. This is a phthalocyanine green, right? Which is made from coal, and basically from fossil fuels, right? And because with plastics, what they basically did, they heat it to a certain temperature, and then you get forming different colours. Like for example, your cadmiums. If you take a cadmium and you fire it longer, it goes to orange, and then it will go to red. It will be the same mineral, but it will change because of the temperature that it's fired at, right? Now, those are, cadmium's obviously a natural element, but like for example, the phthalocyanine colours, like the blue and the green, they are synthetic, okay, made from mineral oils as opposed to coal and that. So basically, plastics come from the same source, and they're also very, very permanent. These colours. You get organic pigments. I'll show you. Got some. Yeah. Organic pigments are extremely, well, they're basically dyes. It's like a dye. And sometimes you have to compromise for certain colours. Maybe just take it off. It's very, very lightweight, and it can get airborne quite quickly. You can see the colour of that. You can show it to the camera as well. The colour of that, yes, it's organic. It's basically made from rose madder, and same as alizarin crimson. Okay, so but they are very, very lightweight, and they're usually quite difficult to mix, especially in acrylics, because of the specific gravity of the pigment. Because a lightweight pigment will just float on top of the water. The water is essentially too thick for the actual pigment to, it was basically like a powder, and that can't mix. So what you have to do is you have to add some material, a liquid which is a dispersant, add that to the pigment, and then it breaks down that surface tension, and it can mix nicely. I'll give you an example of the one where I put a dispersant in the acrylic. I didn't put a dispersant in there. You can see there's lumpy bits there, but I put a dispersant there, and it becomes more glossy. And that's basically the acrylic without pigment. Okay. That's just with the pigment added. I just overlapped them there. You can see the difference, and you get quite a nice. That's
Could you deliberately want to have that effect?
You can, you can put sand in there. You wanted
texture.
You can put sand in there. You can put anything. Absolutely. And that's what some people do. But I wouldn't use the pigment to do that. It's a bit of a waste.
Okay.
Rather put something that has got. You'll look at those. And you can see over here, I didn't add any dispersant in there. And it's quite dead. It doesn't look nice at all. But once you add a thickener, which we'll do today, and a dispersant,